Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In this episode, I'm actually featuring the team that I brought to the Salt Lake City Regional Championships a couple of weeks ago. I ended up finishing in the top 8 of that tournament, losing to the eventual champion, and it was just really exciting to compete once again since I haven't played very seriously in the last couple of years. I did, compete at Dallas in 2020, and that was like the one tournament in a couple of years that I had really practiced and tried for, but didn't do super well there. But this was, the first live event in 2+ years, and it just felt really good to be competing again. So yeah, as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just check out the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below. There's a run ton of pace for this team, and I actually did a team report on this a couple of days ago where I go in depth about the team and also cover the matches that I had at Salt Lake City Regionals. So if you want to really learn more, I would recommend checking that video out, but I still will give a brief description on the team. And thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. So, this team is centered around two really strong offensive Pokemon in Life Orb Solar Power Charizard as well as Weakness Policy Solgaleo. Both of these Pokemon have the potential to one-shot tons of Pokemon in the format, especially those that are not Dynamaxed. And so the idea is that you use Groudon to enable both Charizard and Solgaleo. Groudon sets up the Sun for Charizard, and it's able to Scarf Bulldoze, activate the Weakness Policy on Solgaleo while also dropping speeds from the opposing team. Whimsicott here also has Sunny Day, so that's another way to enable the Sun for Charizard, and there's also multiple ways to activate the Weakness Policy on Solgaleo. For example, Mimikyu can go for a Shadow Sneak onto it, or Groudon can go for a Bulldoze onto it. And so you have multiple lead combos with this team. Whimsicott Charizard is one with Groudon Solgaleo in the back, Charizard Indeedee with Groudon Solgaleo in the back, Groudon Solgaleo immediately with Charizard in the back, Mimikyu Solgaleo with Charizard on Groudon in the back. Those are just a couple of examples. And so it's really based off your opponent's team. One of the main things you always want to keep in mind is, okay, would I rather Dynamax Charizard or Solgaleo? You're often going to bring both into the match because they're just both really good in Dynamax and actually pretty effective outside of Dynamax as well. And with Groudon, it's mainly trying to set up your Solgaleo for success early on, or late game Groudon with Precious Blades, absolute monster. And it can actually win you a lot of games by itself, where you chip away at everything, especially with wildfire damage from Charizard, and suddenly, your opponent has like Zacian, they've got Calyrex, they've got all of these Pokemon that Precious Blades can, get a 2-hit KO against, and then with some chip damage from wildfire, it might just even turn into a 1-hit KO. So don't underestimate Choice Scarf Groudon in the end game as well, because Precipice Blades is really valuable to close out games. However, when I use Groudon often in the early game, it's more to enable the Charizard by setting up the Sun or to activate the Weakness Policy on Solgaleo. Mimikyu here on this team is really important against teams that you think are going to have Trick Room. It's especially valuable into like Palkia, Calyrex, Ice Rider teams with Amoonguss, Dusclops, and Porygon 2. And Safety Goggles just gives you a lot more insurance against Pokemon like Venusaur and Amoonguss, for example. And so, yeah, you have a Trick Room component, a Tailwind component. You've got Rock Tomb on Groudon and Bulldoze on Groudon, as well as Max Airstream from Charizard. So there's like multiple different ways that you can look at speed control for this team, and it makes things more confusing for your opponent. The last thing I'll talk about here is that the Solgaleo does have Wild Charge, so this is really valuable into, Max Lightning, especially for Pokemon like Kyogre and Yveltal. So, yeah. This is a team that, I had built, but initially drew a lot of inspiration from a player called Jonas, who had, built the original core of this team. So huge thank you to him for that. And I'll link to Twitter down in the description below as well, because, yeah, this idea would not have existed. I would not have put this together if I didn't see his original team, which, this team draws so much inspiration from. So huge thank you to him. And thanks to you all, as always, for watching. Question of the day: with us using Scarf Groudon, I want to know what your favorite surprise item in Pokemon combo is. For me, Choice Specs Cresselia. I used a lot in VGC 2012 and 2013, so that would definitely be my answer. But Scarf Groudon, maybe second after all of that. So let me know yours in the comment section below, and let's get started. No way. I don't know if this is actually Marcus or not, but if so, that's super cool. Yeah, for those that don't know, 13Yoshi37 is Marcus Stator's username. He was the third place finisher at Worlds in 2016, two-time European national champion, really one of the greatest ever to play the game. So, curious if this is him or not. I know he's been playing here and there recently. And it is Kyogre, Kingdra, Shedinja, Zacian, Indeedee, and Landorus. We just featured the team on the channel, actually, so we know it's physical Kingdra. So it was physical Kingdra and Scarf Kyogre. So Scarf Kyogre is definitely pretty scary, but I do have Tailwind and Sunny Day with Whimsicott here. Swords Dance Landorus plus Indeedee I think is rather scary. How do I stop that lead, actually? I don't feel like I have a great answer into it, unfortunately. Okay, I'm thinking Whimsicott plus Landorus, Charizard plus Groudon in the back. Yeah, I think that works. I think Indeedee Lando here is actually incredibly effective, though, and we didn't really use that combo when I featured the team recently, but I think it's a ton of value here if they have it. Or if they lead that specifically, I should say. Let's see. Yeah, we're in some trouble here. Well, it's not necessarily terrible, I suppose, because I can... If it's Kyogre Zacian in the back, turn 1, follow me. I wonder if Groudon plus Solgaleo would have been better here. Just like bulldoze into Steel Spike. Okay, I think we're gonna have to not max here to start. Basically, the idea is to like bait out a Max Quake on turn 2 and then switch Solgaleo out into Charizard. Turn 1, get a bunch of free damage on the board, ideally. And then we'll go from there. I don't have counterplay to Indeedee plus Landorus as a lead, unfortunately. This is just really effective against what I have specifically. I expect Kyogre and Zacian in the back, to which Scarf Groudon can be good, but I have to respect the Scarf Kyogre. I don't remember how much speed investment the Kyogre has on the opposing side and whether or not it's max speed or not. But... Yep, so it's Follow Me Swords Dance here is the obvious play, but there's still little reason to deviate from going for that. Oh, you know, another interesting play to make this next turn is to like max or protect Solgaleo and hope they activate Policy through Protect. That's actually really interesting. Ooh, I don't think Moonblast KOs Indeedee here either. That's not good. Again, like Helping Hand Max Quake, so like I want to Moonblast here into Indeedee, which I don't think will KO, unfortunately, and then hard switch into Charizard. I don't really know how to win against this matchup. Like, Indeedee plus Lando-T with Swords Dance is just not a good combo for me, unfortunately, as a Solgaleo and Groudon player. So we'll switch. I think Indeedee survives a Moonblast, to be honest, but if I can burn a turn of their Dynamax, that's a pretty big deal. Another play I could have made was just to max Solgaleo here in Steel Spike, but I'm worried about like Helping Hand plus Max Quake. Okay, they do go for the max. They totally could like Airstream here or Rockfall, but I think you do have to respect Solgaleo this turn enough to attack it. Okay, so there's Landorus max. I still could play towards a Charizard max angle as well, but I don't think I love that. Yeah, there's Helping Hand. Okay. I'm gonna get Moonblast off here. Don't get the knockout, but that's fine. Yeah, it is Quake. Okay. Well, that worked out at least, but it's still not a good position to be in. I can Heat Wave now. I could switch Charizard back out into Solgaleo, which is actually really interesting here. And then play towards Max Charizard in the endgame? I don't think that's a terrible idea, to be honest. Like, I'm down to Moonblast Indeedee here and then switch Zard back out into Solg. I think having this defensive, like, typing switches right now really works in my favor. Okay. Indeedee did not go for a Follow Me or Protect. That's fine. We get a knockout onto that. That's 2 turns of Dynamax now after this turn. And unless he Quaked into the Solgaleo slot... Yeah, he went for Airstream. Airstream's the most consistent play here, so that makes sense. Onto Whim. Yeah. Okay. So this is a big deal because it means I can now Tailwind with Whimsicott. The problem is that they can get an Airstream onto whatever's coming in right now. But by getting Tailwind this late in the game, it's actually not terrible for me. Here's the angle, right? Like, in their shoes... Oh, interesting. Kyogre actually still outspeeds Landorus here, so then it's like... I could just attack with Solgaleo here this turn. Like, I'm definitely Tailwinding here. It's a question of what I want to do with Soul. I could actually switch out into Charizard here, but I could see him Airstreaming into that slot. I could Max Guard. I don't think he's going to want to activate Policy, but... Max Quake through Protect would still do a lot. Yeah, I'm actually going to Tailwind here and Max Guard. Because I think Landorus aiming for a Airstream speed boost on a Kyogre makes sense here. If you don't get that off and you KO Whimsicott, I get Groudon in for free, then it's just Bulldoze into Steel Spike, and we can just spam Solgaleo from that angle. So this early game looked really scary, but we actually managed to position ourselves to a point where I think Solgaleo can put in some work. And it was mainly wasting 2 attacks from Landorus, essentially, and not taking any damage with my main attackers in this game. There's Max Guard. Normally feels bad to Tailwind and not attack, but I think this turn that makes sense. Oh, they are faster with Landorus relative to Kyogre. Okay. I still don't regret that play, though. That's fine. Because now I have Tailwind and I get Scarf Groudon out, right? Which is obviously really good. Okay, there's Water Spout. Perfect. Now it's go time with our 2 pals, Groudon and Solgaleo. So I've changed the weather now. Your Dynamax is ended. I still have 2 turns of Dynamax to work with. Solgaleo now has a free Steel Spike into the Landorus slot. I guess my only problem here is if he brought Shedinja over Zacian. But I have to respect Earthquake from Landorus because that's where the bulk of the damage is coming from right now. So yeah, we're just going to Bulldoze here. And I'm going to Steel Spike into Lando. Okay, no switch. Perfect. It's great damage on Kyogre, by the way. Like, I think normally when people think of Bulldoze in this format, they think of it only as like a speed control mechanism or an attack, but it's actually really valuable for offense as well. So now I have a +2 Steel Spike going off into Landorus-T. Beautiful. Nice. And I think that should win us the game because unless Kyogre crits me here, I can just Bulldoze now into Quake to end this game. So Landorus faints. There's Water Spout. Yep. Beautiful. And we even get crit there, but it's still okay because we did enough damage. Okay, nice. With this team, like, it's easy to think, oh, like, I want to just Dynamax Solgaleo on turn 1 of the game and attack, but in this matchup, like, I couldn't really afford to do that, I think. So, Zacian comes out now. We get another free Bulldoze off. Kyogre, I'm pretty sure, was choiced, right, if I remember correctly. And I've still got Charizard in the back as well, so I'm down to just Bulldoze here and go for... I'm just trying to think how I guaranteed the game without potentially missing an attack. His play is to protect Zacian here, I think, so yeah. I'm down to just Bulldoze here, and honestly Steel Spike, I think, into Kyogre. Should be a KO at +2. Okay, he just ends up forfeiting. Yeah, I think, like, there was still slight potential to win if my... I mean, I don't think Kyogre surviving Bulldoze plus Steel Spike there, so that was my logic, right? It covers for every single play that could have happened there, but this is exactly what Solgaleo can do. So I don't know if that was actually Marcus or not, but either way, you know, I'm really happy about how that actually played out because the early game, like, looked really scary. You know, he had the lead that I expected him to go with, and I didn't have great counterplay to it, but because I knew his Swords Dance, I figured, okay, like, if we can just manage to... yeah, stall out even 1 turn of Dynamax, and then, like, switching from Charizard to Solgaleo is risky, but it's also high risk for him to, you know, feel comfortable clicking Rockfall into Solgaleo or Quake into the Charizard slot. So the defensive typing between those two worked out really well, and in this format, even if you just stall out 1 turn of Dynamax and waste 1 max move, it can go a really, really long way. So that was kind of an unorthodox way to get the Groudon and Solgaleo going, but I had to weather the early storm of Indeedee plus Landorus, and we were actually able to accomplish that. So yeah, really, really happy to show off this duel, and let's keep things going. All right, Next match here, and wow, Dialga, Zacian, Latias, Suicune, Incineroar, Urshifu. Latias, normally when you see, I would expect like Ice Beam, Tailwind, Ally Switch, could run a Dragon type attack, could run Icy Beam, Icy Wind. I mean, theoretically against Groudon and Zacian and Dialga, Groudon should have a really favorable matchup. As should Solgaleo. So the main thing to worry about is Tailwind from their end, correct? Suicune could also Tailwind here, which is problematic. I mean, Max Solg is good. I can't deny Tailwind. I do have Taunt on Mimikyu, but it's going to be slower than their Tailwind users, so I could match their Tailwind with my Whimsicott. I'm actually kind of intrigued by Whimsicott Charizard here, because I think Charizard can be a pretty good max option thanks to Max Airstream, especially combined with Sunny Day and Tailwind from Whimsicott. So, like, on paper, my restricteds are really good into theirs, right? But they have Tailwind, and Tailwind in itself is a pretty big issue for me to run into at the moment. So the goal is to ideally stagger our Tailwinds. Yeah, they're going to go with Latias and Dialga. Latias and Dialga. So what can my opponent go for here? Tailwind into Max Hailstorm is a play. What do I want to do here? Like, I feel like I need to Tailwind here, because if they Tailwind with Latias, I don't Tailwind with Whimsicott, and then they Hailstorm me. That's really bad. I suppose I could protect Whimsicott this turn. That's actually interesting. Protect Whimsicott, Airstream into Latias, and then turn 2 stagger my Tailwind, and then, like, Wildfire. I'm not completely opposed to that, actually. Okay, protect Max. This is, I guess, a little bit risky, because, like, actually, yeah, now that I think about it, like, some Dialgas do run Ancient Power for Max Rockfall. So, like, the play I make here works if I'm not getting one-shot on Charizard on turn 1 of this game. If I lose Charizard immediately and, you know, get nothing off, then it's just a complete disaster. So, I should have thought about Max Rockfall. Like, it actually makes so much sense on their Dialga, because they, you're running Dialga Zacian, so you need good answers against Charizard. I just, like, Dialga's not that common, and I didn't think about Ancient Power specifically as an option. So we'll see if they go for it and whether or not they even have it. Like, if that's something that I lose to on the first turn, then it's like, so be it. You know, it's a more niche restricted with a very niche attack. But unfortunately, it's like I thought about it just as I locked in my moves, right? So if I were to replay this turn 1, I would just go for the safer option of clicking Tailwind myself. Because I was like, okay, you know, I see this as an opportunity to stagger the Tailwind. I don't think they can one-shot my Charizard. Okay, it's just Wormwind. We're good. Nice. Okay, good. Interesting to not target Whimsicott at all, actually. Works for me, though. I mean, it's a free opportunity to now go for a Tailwind of my own. They're not Life Orb on Dialga, which I think is intriguing. Not sure a Wildfire actually gets the KO here on Latias. But I really should get Wildfire up right now, right? So let's Tailwind. Honestly, I'm down to Wildfire Dialga here for guaranteed damage onto it, because knocking out Dialga is not exactly the easiest thing here, and I do have Moonblast to hit Latias, plus they're taking residual from Wildfire as well. Turn 1 could have played out a little bit better. Like, I actually could have clicked Moonblast there, but from my opponent's angle, like, I think a Max Hailstorm on a Whimsicott makes a lot of sense, because you KO through Focus Sash. So I just wanted to cover for that option. Okay, now we get Wildfire. Great damage onto Dialga, honestly. I'll take that. Cool. Huh. What? That is crazy. At first I was like, I'm sorry, did you just activate a policy? How in the world did you activate weakness policy? But Wow. That's so cool. How could I ever anticipate something like that? Wow. That is so cool. Okay, well, we're gonna go to Sulk here. It's still fine, honestly. Like, I don't even feel that bad about my spot, but I would have never seen that coming in a million years. That is so interesting. What? How cool is that? How cool is that? Okay. We've seen Surf, we've seen Tailwind, maybe you have Icy Wind. I probably should just get rid of Latias right now, I think. Moonblast on a Dialga is actually tempting. Nah. Moonblast here. I think I should protect. It's in my best interest to protect, even though I think they're probably going to Steel Spike Whimsicott here. Like, I don't think I get that much value out of clicking Earthquake this turn anyway. Okay, they ally switch, but to be honest, I actually think this benefits me more than it hurts me. Because it's a free Moonblast into the Dialga slot. Ooh, special attack drop there is pretty nice. And they did Quake. That's going to be very bad news for them. You just activated my trap card, Weakness Policy. Okay. Sick. That's a pleasant surprise. There was a lot that could have gone wrong here, though, if they were actually Ancient Power Dialga, which would be such a crazy tech. Like, new idea. What if you run Dialga, Calyrex Shadow, or Ice Rider? So you ignore Chardy Berry on Charizard, and then Max Rockfall for a KO. Okay. But we're actually in really good shape now, I think. These games have been so interesting, honestly, so I'm so happy to have a good episode. And feature what this team can do, but also go up against really cool teams and players. 2 turns of Tailwind left. It's their last turn of Tailwind. I'm just going to be faster here. So I'm down to Moonblast into Latias. I'm just not 100% confident Sunsteel Strike actually gets the KO. I don't really care about Earthquaking Whimsicott anyway, because it's not going to feint to it. So I'm just going to Moonblast EQ here. Perfect. Yeah, like I don't really care about Ally Switch when I've got Moonblast and a Sprite type attack. This is one of the upsides of Solgaleo, by the way. Like, oh, I guess I actually end up not KOing Latias as a result, but then Wildfire should finish it off anyway. And then now we've got Scarf Groudon in the end game next to Solgaleo. Cool. Yeah. And honestly, like, I don't mind chipping away at my own Whimsicott, because I like, it would be sick if I could KO it myself this next turn, so then I get a free switch into Groudon with no repercussions. So this worked out so well, right? Like, I staggered my Tailwind by a turn, I got Wildfire up. I didn't even expect the policy to go off on Solgaleo, but they were very kind to actually activate it for me. So Zacian comes out now. Urshifu. Urshifu is a little bit scary, obviously, because it can just Wicked Blow, right? In this position, it's the last turn of Tailwind on my end. I should survive a Sucker Punch here. Yeah, I'm down to just Moonblast and EQ here. I don't want to protect, because if it's Sash Urshifu, then it could just Wicked Blow me through protect, so I should always be attacking with Solgaleo. And I like Earthquake here. Like, the only downside is if they double protect, right? But if they double protect, then I get a free switch into Groudon, and then it's Groudon plus Solgaleo in the end game. Okay, Urshifu protects, but looks like Zacian isn't then. Okay, that works for me as well. I guess my only question is whether or not Zacian can take a +2 EQ from this range. I mean, they're at full HP, so I shouldn't say at this range. I just mean in general. Okay, actually is able to survive, but my Whimsicott also survives. And they're going to Blade here, okay? Into Whimsicott. Cool. Perfect. So now I get a free switch into Choice Scarf Groudon. The only downside here is I actually don't feel confident clicking... Oh, actually, because of Wildfire, I think we're good. Wait, actually, because I still have Wildfire up, was there a better way to play this endgame? I feel like there may have been. Now it doesn't matter, right? Like, we should just win. I just want to cover for Sucker Punch on Urshifu. I don't think it KOs the Solgaleo here if you just go for Sucker Punch. And since I'm Scarf Groudon here, I would think Fire Punch in Sun is a 2-hit KO onto Urshifu. So I think what I can do here... There's no more Wildfire. I can just Fire Punch into Urshifu here and Sun Steel Strike. If I knew they didn't have Sucker Punch, I would just Bulldoze into Steel Strike here, but yeah. Since I'm Scarfed and I know I've got the Fire Punch here, might as well go for it. Yep, that should be a 2 KO. We actually even get the burn, but I don't think that burn mattered. And actually, I just move first anyway here. Cool. Nice. Okay, some really interesting games with Solgaleo and Groudon here. Mimikyu hasn't really come out. I just Absorb Bulb Latias plus Dialga is so interesting. Now, I had some good RNG in this game with the special attack drop on Dialga and the burn, but I really don't think either mattered in the long run, because it's like the special attack drop, like Dialga only got one more attack off, and that was just a Max Quake into Solgaleo. So if we didn't get that drop, they do a little bit more damage through Protect. That's basically it. But Latias Dialga, definitely a combo I've never seen before. And if they actually had Ancient Power turning into Max Rockfall, I keep saying Ancient Power. I don't know if it actually, that's the special attack that Dialga gets. It might be Power Gem instead. Either way, like, it does get one Rock type attack, I believe. So yeah, if they had that, then I would have been in some trouble. But fortunately, they did not. Staggered Tailwind perfectly, got Wildfire up, and Scarf Groudon so nice to clean up for the end game here for us. So yeah, let's look for one more. All right, third one of the day here, and we've got Kyogre, Calyrex, Hydreigon, Gieleki, and Gothitelle. Really cool. Now, we've featured Hydreigon before, AV Hydreigon, which is interesting. Man, this team has a lot of scary things because, like, there could be Focus Sash on Gothitelle, Focus Sash on Calyrex. Ice Rider is actually becoming a thing now, especially, like, Max Speed Calyrex with Helping Hand next to Kyogre. Could be Scarf Ogre, Sash Gieleki here. Sash is just such a good item in this format that, like, there's so many Pokemon that could be running it here for my opponent. So, Groudon plus Solgaleo is not bad, but I'm actually interested in Mimikyu here because of Taunt. Yeah, like, what if I go with Mimikyu plus Solgaleo as a lead? Groudon in the back? What do I want as the last one? Whimsicott's actually not bad into Hydreigon, but Charizard's good into Calyrex. The main thing to think about is, like, am I screwed if I get trapped in by the Gothitelle, right? Like, Gothitelle plus what would give me issues? I guess Gothitelle and Kyogre, but that's not really that scary. I definitely don't want to lead Groudon plus Solgaleo, because if it's a slower Kyogre, I get trapped in, then they can just win the Weather War and then Fake Out me and obliterate Groudon. So I'm down for Whimsicott, Groudon, Solgaleo, and for the last one, I'm bringing Charizard. I actually think you could make a pretty good argument for Whimsicott here, because they don't have a Fairy resistance, right? And so Whim can just, like, Moonblast, 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 and it's really good into Hydreigon. So I think you can make that debate, but I'm fine going with Charizard here. Charizard's just really nice late game damage with this team. Okay, it's Goth and Kyogre? Yeah. Turn 1's so interesting already. I mean, like, Scarf Kyogre is one of the things to watch out for. Ally Switch Hypnosis Gothitelle was really scary. I kind of expected to be that, like, with Focus Sash. Your other restricted's Calyrex, though. The other thing they could do is, like, Water Spout into Foul Play here. What if I just hard switch into Groudon and then just Max Lightning Kyogre turn 1? Yeah, I don't get Policy off, but then I don't take that much damage from you. I guess they get Helping Hand as well. Honestly, I'm down to switch into Groudon here, I think, and then Max Lightning. And if you're not Scarf Kyogre, then even better, right? But I think the main thing I'm worried about here, I'm also nervous about Ally Switch from Gothitelle. So in going for this, like, you know, it covers for Hypnosis on Gothitelle, covers for Scarf Ogre, Water Spout, turn 1. And, like, obviously I don't love taking a Water Spout with Groudon right now, but I don't mind it if it means getting a KO onto Kyogre in return. Because Solgaleo is just so good in this matchup, right? It's good into both of my opponent's restricteds. So, we're going to Dynamax Solgaleo. Okay. Okay. Okay, they are Scarfed. That's totally fine, though. What a great trade for me. Yeah, that puts us in amazing shape. Cool, because now I can just Bulldoze. That breaks a Sash on Gothitelle. I set up Electric Terrain, so you can't just blind Hypnosis with Gothitelle successfully either. I just wasn't expecting Fake Out there. Like, I was thinking maybe Helping Hand or Foul Play. Because then I could have stayed in with Mimikyu, but the thing is Solgaleo took such little damage there, and the thing with Groudon is that, like, okay, they do have Hydreigon. That makes things more interesting. Hydreigon. This is why I'm saying I should have brought Whimsicott now instead of Charizard. I could obviously, like, Bulldoze here, activate Policy, and then just get a max move off. I'm just really nervous about Ally Switch from Gothitelle right now, I think. Like, I'm also not opposed to going for a Rock Tomb onto the Hydreigon slot and a Steel Spike onto it. Because I have Charizard in the back, right? And with Kyogre eliminated, if their last one is Calyrex, we have a decent Charizard matchup. I don't want to Bulldoze, activate Policy, but then just get hit by like a Max Darkness and a Foul Play. And then I also just think Ally Switch from Gothitelle here is a possibility as well. If I knew they didn't have Ally Switch, I would have Max Quake the Gothitelle slot every time here. But I don't know that with confidence yet. So yeah, like, you know, as we were getting into this battle, I was talking about, okay, they go for Helping Hand. Ooh, that might KO me as well, but if I get a lot of damage onto it before they KO, then maybe it's okay, because then I can bring in Mimikyu, and then I have Play Rough with it. Okay, it's really solid damage. I expect it to be AV Hydreigon, but now I can just KO you with the Play Rough. I assume Darkness one-shots me from this range, but let's see. Okay, yeah. Quake would have maybe been a game-winning play there, but I really didn't want to Quake into an Ally Switch. Like, this is the thing, Gothitelle is one of those Pokemon that, like, I assume it has Ally Switch and Hypnosis, and, like, trying to play around both and, like, keeping both in mind is kind of a nightmare sometimes. And they're actually Life Orb, okay. Life Orb could be an issue for me here. It does mean I do more damage, though, with Mimikyu here. Another Rock Tomb will allow me to KO you with the Play Rough. So I am going to Rock Tomb here and Play Rough, I think. The obvious play for them is to protect Hydreigon, right? And then, like, just go for an attack with Gothitelle. So we'll see if they go for it. Okay, yeah, they do Max Guard. I mean, what's my alternative here? Like, of course I could launch Rock Tomb into Gothitelle, and Taunt would probably be the best option here. Oh, are they Trick Rooming? Yeah, I should have taunted there then. There's a decent chance they're Mentorb. The interesting thing about that play, though, is now I'm actually faster with my Mimikyu against your Hydreigon. But the thing is, I actually think I need a reverse Trick Room right now, as awkward as it is. So I'm going to Rock Tomb Hydreigon and actually reverse it. Because if I want to win this game, I cannot let Calyrex Ice Rider beat me under Trick Room. Okay. So they do have Ally Switch. They finally reveal it after all of that. Darkness and a Mimikyu. Okay. So it's Ally Switch, Fake Out, Helping Hand. Wait. Fake Out, Ally Switch, Trick Room, Helping Hand? Oh, so you don't have an attack. Huh. That's interesting. Okay. Disguise is broken. Now I reverse Trick Room, but I had to reverse Trick Room because I can't knock out Hydreigon, give them a free switch and a Calyrex Ice Rider. I just lose the game off that. The problem is I'm running out of Sun turns here as well. Good on them on bringing Hydreigon, because otherwise they just hard lose to Solgaleo. So it's like I had a really strong turn one, but it's just so hard playing around Ally Switch Gothitelle, because if I would just Quake Gothitelle there, I would have gotten a special defense boost, and I would think actually maybe I could survive Max Darkness from that angle. Okay, now what? Down to Rock Tomb into Hydreigon, and Taunt into Gothitelle. Okay, they don't go for an Ally Switch. Nice damage. Are you Mentorb here on Goth is the question now. No, they're not. Ooh, okay. That's the only awkward thing, right? Like, Sunlight fades right now. This is such an interesting game. Win or lose, I'm really happy with this episode. I think we just had some really awesome games. I mean, you would think Gothitelle switches out now, right? Into Calyrex, obviously. But Gothitelle doesn't have any attacks, so all it takes is one Charizard Heat Wave to win against Calyrex, correct? So normally I'd be a little bit hesitant about activating Weakness Policy on Calyrex, but in this angle, I actually think it makes sense. I'm just going to double up onto Gothitelle right now, because Hydreigon will knock out one of my Pokemon as God switches out. Right, and then the angle is just looking for a Heat Wave. I guess the problem is now they can threaten me with Fake Out and Trick Room. Oh, yeah, hold on. Ooh, but they protect the Hydreigon. Okay, okay. You're not Weakness Policy either. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Wait, Rock Tomb did so much damage there. Oh, that was a crit. That's why. Okay. This is so intense. Like, I want to sneak and, I want to double up here on a Calyrex. I'm down. It's just like Calyrex could obviously protect here. Ooh, they switch. Okay. How do I feel about that switch? I guess not great, because I could have knocked out Hydreigon there. Oh my gosh, that's so much damage, though. I'm actually getting so much value out of attacks that you normally don't expect to do very much damage. Like, look at this. Okay, Dark Pulse onto Groudon. That's game over, right? Because you can't Fake Out into Mimikyu. You faint. It's not game over yet. I still have to respect Ally Switch. Ally Switch, Ally Switch, Ally Switch. Fake Out Glacial Lance, Ally Switch, Helping Hand Glacial Lance. And then Trick Room. Yeah, wait, this is definitely not over. I got a little bit too ahead of myself. The thing is, Gothitelle can never attack here, right? So Fake Out Glacial Lance would be fine. I wouldn't faint to both, unless you're banded. Like, yeah, honestly, here, I'm down to sneak Calyrex and Heat Wave, because I could see them going for Helping Hand plus Glacial Lance. Yeah, would they actually? The thing is, okay, so here, I don't think Glacial Lance should KO Charizard, right? So if you don't KO there, then I'm just one attack away from KOing you. They could also Trick Room in this angle. Okay, they did Glacial Lance. So as long as they're not banded here, I think Charizard should survive, and then we Heat Wave to win. Is it actually choice banded? Oh, wow. So the reason I didn't protect Charizard there, maybe it just KOs me. Actually, I want to learn that damage code, because I really didn't think Glacial Lance would ever KO me there. But basically what I was thinking there is, I didn't protect, because if I protect, what was I worried about? Them setting up Trick Room? You know what the best play there was? It was to protect and then taunt Calyrex. Although they could still set up Trick Room with Gothitelle from that angle. I just didn't think Charizard would ever faint there from Glacial Lance, but I didn't know the item there, and so I'm actually going to pull up the damage code, because I thought we'd survive there, and if we survive, then my play covers for every option, but I think there's a chance they were choice banded then. But if I protect Charizard there, and Shadow Sneak Gothitelle, I feel like I definitely did not make the absolute correct play there in that end game, but there were so many things I was trying to keep in mind. So let me pull up the damage calc first and learn that calc, because like banded Calyrex obviously isn't that common. So I really underestimated Calyrex Ice Rider's damage output here, as it has a 12.5% chance to actually just one-shot with Glacial Lance in itself. Now, if you add Fake Out chip damage from the Gothitelle on top of that, then it's a roll that's very heavily in my opponent's favor. The reason I went for the play that I did was because in my head, I didn't actually think I'd get KO'd by the Glacial Lance, just because I, didn't know this damage calc. So I was like, by going for the play that I'm going for this turn, I cover for every option if I'm expecting Charizard to survive there. Unfortunately, no, Charizard did not survive that, and in fact, it was actually a roll that was very much in my opponent's favor. So given that, then the better play was to just go for the obvious Protect with Charizard that turn, which, I opted not to go for. The reason I didn't go for the obvious Protect there was because, one, I thought I would survive the Glacial Lance combo, and two, I also was really nervous about either of their Pokemon clicking Trick Room from that angle, because if Trick Room gets set up, then Calyrex can just Glacial Lance me under Trick Room. Looking back, I think the objective best play was to protect Charizard and Shadow Sneak into the Gothitelle slot. That covers for pretty much every option other than, I guess, an Ally Switch into a Trick Room from Calyrex Ice Rider. But that is such an obscure play to make that I think it's so unlikely they go for that. And so, yeah, if I just protect Charizard there, Sneak KO's Gothitelle, then we just Ancient Power KO the Calyrex Ice Rider. But the reason I didn't go for it was because I was just trying to calculate all the scenarios of then getting Trick Room up with either Pokemon, trying to think about Ally Switch as well. And then in my head, I was like, okay, I don't think Charizard's fainting here anyway, so I feel like this play covers for everything. But it's a great example of a loss in which you don't know a damage calc fully and then end up getting punished for it. Because if I knew this calc, then yeah, I would have just protected Charizard. But in my head, I thought we would survive. So sometimes, this is the best way to learn. You have these losses that should be wins, and you get a lot of valuable information from them. So while it stings to lose, now it's I'll be better prepared next time I'm in a scenario like this. And, Calyrex, Ice Rider, Glacial Lance, and a Charizard are not exactly a damage calc I'd go out of my way to learn, just because that's so obscure. And with this team, I normally wouldn't even expect to be in a position where Calyrex could get a Glacial Lance off. So to my opponent's credit, I think this was actually a really difficult matchup for them, because my Solgaleo is really good against the Kyogre. It's really good into the Calyrex Ice Rider as well, and they did a really good job basically playing around it. I think Gothitelle is just one of the hardest Pokemon to play against, because you have to cover for Ally Switch and Hypnosis, as well as Max Speed Gothitelle, and I was trying to respect foul play as well. So it's in the end, I ended up playing slightly suboptimally to try to cover for all of these options, and that went a long way here, right? Because if I just got a little bit more extra damage at any point onto any of the Pokemon, it would have given me a pretty significant edge, right? I could have gone for the Max Quake onto the Gothitelle when I was trying to cover for Ally Switch, and so yeah, Ally Switch is just one of those options that can be really tough to play around, and it made me play suboptimally because I tried to keep playing guessing games around it. But like I mentioned, to my opponent's credit, I think they executed their win con really well, and even though the early game was good, the awareness to actually bring Hydreigon, Dynamax, they go for the helping hand, try to just KO the Solgaleo immediately. I think that was really well done. Whimsicott maybe could have helped me out a little bit, but I think the Pokemon choice was fine here. I just needed to play that end game better, and I, obviously messed up the final turn because I was a little bit greedy thinking Charizard could survive. So yeah, Pokemon's one of those games where every turn just matters so much. There's little room for error, and we almost brought it back here, but in the end, yeah, they went for the good play of Fake Out Glacial Lance, and now I know my damage calc's a little bit better here. So that's going to be it for this one. Thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.